Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm Lincoln, and today we're going to go into Nomad Sculpt and we're going to take what we learned in the last video a little bit further. I'll show you how to use the same UV mapping techniques with your textures and face groups and go take it a little bit further and show you how to make clothes or textures on a more organic shape. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so I have my example bust here, and so here let's just think about putting a uniform or a shirt or something on them. So we'll do something like that. So let's go into select mask, go into rectangle, and just do the bulk of them real quick. And then I'm going to come in and add a little bit more with just the mask tool. And you can do this however you want. This is just real quick and dirty. And this does not need to be perfect because the extraction we're going to do in just a second will change this all. Now I'm going to come up and make sure, I'm pretty sure the filter is on front facing vertex. So we can erase up here and it doesn't erase the back. There we go. Okay, that is good enough. Alright, so let's go ahead and do an extract. So we'll come up to the shield there, and it's cool because it shows you like a preview, so you can adjust the thickness, and that looks pretty good right there. We'll go ahead and extract a shell. Alright, so now we have one right here, and what I want to do is just cut this off. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but we're going to cut this off nice and clean. And what I want to do is use the trim tool. We'll use a polygon. Symmetry's on, and click the green button. Alright, that looks good. And then go to the rectangles, trim the bottom off. Now you could totally leave this on. I just want to clean this up, it makes it a little bit easier to deal with. Alright, let's solo this real quick. And I'm going to go and remesh, and that should get rid of all the thin fill stuff that's one layer thick. Let's remesh it. Almost got rid of it. Remesh it again. Pretty close. Alright, I'm going to clean this up real quick, and I'll be right back. Alright, so now I've done that, we'll bring the mesh back down a little bit, which is fine, and use the smooth tool. Where is it? Here it is. Smooth this a little bit. The edges, just kind of knock all that weirdness off. And it all depends on how you want to do clothing on. But this is one of the easiest ways, is using the extract from a mask. It's an easy way to put clothes on something, or a person, object, whatever. Okay, so that's pretty good. That needs a little bit more smoothing. Let's remesh one more time. Okay, that looks good. Alright, so let's go down to the face group. So we go to UV mask this. If you hit the inspector, you can see that it doesn't look too bad. That actually looks pretty good, but you see you got some weirdness going on here. And the cool thing about this technique is you can put seams in this just like you would in clothes, or you can do it completely seamless, however you want to do it. And it depends on what UV unwrapping you want to do. But what we're going to do right now is go into face groups, and you can see that I've already got kind of a color thing going on right here, and we can adjust this, and I'm going to show you why this happens. So let's go back, turn off solo, and let's grab this and do him solo. So you'll see, let's go ahead and clear the mask too. Okay, so what you'll see is long press on UV, we'll go to face group, and what's going on is I have different sections because this was originally one where I had the chest, the neck, and the head as separate pieces, and then I sculpted them all back together. When you do that, every time you bring an object into Nomad Sculpt, it gets a face group or a group of face groups depending on the shape, and it also gets a UV map assigned to it as a primitive. So what happens is if you don't redo this area right here, then when you go to do extract, it's going to already have those splits already in it. So what we'll do is turn solo off, grab this one, solo this one, hit the inspector. So that's what's going on right here, and we can easily fix this, and it's pretty cool with all the different things that we have in there with face groups. So let's go into face group. Now first thing, you got this real jagged line right here. I want to fix a little bit of this. It's already nice because it has a neckline, and you got the inner one. The inner one doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is go up to all your different patches, and all. You can change all these if you want. So what I'm going to do is you can either select one, or you can long press on one and it'll get the color, and then you can just tap on a face group and it will change for you. So there's still a couple little spots in there, and we'll take care of that real quick by going to the dot, long press, and then I can clean all those little spots up. Alright, so then over here I want to change this neckline up, because what will happen is when this maps, you can set your UV maps to map face groups. So if we have these different size face groups and different shapes, then that's exactly what I want to do, and we don't actually have to be in the patch. We can just be on here or here. Actually is the one I want. I'm going to bring my dot up a little bit bigger, and so I can bring this collar down like this, and we'll fix this a little bit, and we'll clean this up in just a hair. Just a minute here. Let's bring this down. It'd be kind of cool, I think, if we bring this across. Oops. And what I need to do is bring this down a little bit, and I want to clean up all those other colors. I want the green now. Bring the dot down a little bit. Fix that border. Okay, so now you can see that I've kind of got what I want, but it's pretty jagged. So now we can hit relax right here. Go a little bit bigger, and it'll basically like make a line in your mesh. As you can see right here, it changes the mesh for you, so it'll clean it all up and make a nice clean line. And the more you work it, the more it'll relax the mesh for you, and you can generally get a pretty clean line. And if you can't exactly get what you want, you can paint it a little bit more, but this is good enough for what we're doing. I'll clean these up right here. So the really cool thing about this is you can completely control everything about where your UV mask, or your UV map rather, goes. Alright, we'll turn off the wire so we can see this a little better. And that's perfect. I like that. I really like that a lot. This spot right here I'm going to fix. So let's grab this one, go back to dot, bring the dot down really small. Let's paint that a little bit. Go back to relax. Oops. Go back to relax and clean that up. And I like that a lot. It's good enough for the example we're going to do. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go over to the resolution and go to miscellaneous. And you can see the extrusion is pretty high. It's 337, so it's not going to unwrap very well. So when you go to voxel, bring the mesh down, and it's okay to bring it down, because what's going to happen is we're going to get the maps and then we'll go back. And that's pretty good right there. Let's go back to face groups, or we're still in face groups. And let's go to relax again and clean these lines up. Otherwise your maps will be really crazy. So should have done this a minute ago. Apologize. It's not going to like that very much. Alright, let's see how that looks. The top is not going to matter as much, but we can get rid of that edge loop, the green edge loop, which might be better to do. And then when we go to relax these, this will be a lot cleaner. Do it that way. It just depends on how complicated you have everything. So this should do a pretty good map now. And when we go to actually, we'll actually bring the topology back up again. So you can try the different ones. This unwrap is probably not going to be as clean. Let's see what it looks like. And that's actually looks pretty decent. So let's change this to UVs. All right, that looks pretty good, but we still have a couple seams on there, on the shoulders and the neck and the neckline. I don't want that, so let's try the other and unwrap this one. And that's a little better, but it's still got some weird things going on, and a big part of it is probably because we have too few of those. You can change the cone count. Sometimes that will help fix this, and that's better. If it's got too many, you would think more would be okay, but sometimes it doesn't work out that well. So that is what we want. And you see when we go to put our texture on now that we're going to have two nice clean textures. And it's just really about playing between the UV Atlas, the BFF, and then if you come in here, you have a couple options on the cog to change the stretches. And then on this one, the cone count makes a big difference. If you have too high a cone count, then it'll do those weird things with the lines. And you see where it was up to 16, or brought it down to 9. I think default's, what is default? 8. So anywhere in there will be okay. All right, so we like that. Now that we have a good map, now we can go and bring this resolution back up if we like. So we can come in here, voxel, or we can multi-res and subdivide this up to about 1,000,000 again. That's going to be way over, but that's okay. All right, so now we have it subdivided. We're going to have our UV map going. All right, so now we need to come up again and do a layer. And I'll rename this again just so you guys can see. We'll put cloth in there. All right, so that's our cloth layer. Now that we have that layer name, let's go on to the textures. Our materials tab, we're going to go down to textures, opacity, and I know it looks like it's grayed out and nothing will happen, but click on opacity. And we're going to click photos just so I can pick a texture. I think I'll do hexagons on this one this time. All right, now the cool thing is now that you've done that, it lights up for you. Go in and you can change your scale. Oh, you turn the inspector off so you can see. And go into Gizmo so I can see what's going on. I was like, where did everything go? All right, so let's bring this down. All right. Now what we need to do is kind of look over and see if you've got anything weird going on. Now, what you're seeing is like a double texture because it's texture at the top and texture underneath on the other side of the object. Crazy thing about when this happens is it shows you both sides of this, and this isn't going to matter really. Big thing you want to do is kind of look and see how you want this neckline to go. All right, that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and go back up in our menu, miscellaneous. And we're going to do from itself for high res, and you want to do the from itself. Okay. Now you can see that we have a nice clean texture all the way over it, and with this, you could do like a little beading in between the two textures if you wanted to. All right, so we'll go ahead and leave that as is. Let's go ahead and change the color though. We'll go ahead and paint it that color, looks fine. All right, so now you have this one in here, and if you want to switch it, you can always go into mask, invert the mask. Now this is all going to depend on what type of texture. You can use grayscale texture, you can use alphas if you like. You can also use depth maps or height maps depending on where you're finding your textures. All of it will work, and it's all going to paint a little differently. And you see here it would be better to have gone in because this texture is not super clean. It's got some artifacts in it. So this would have been better to do a base color first and then do this as a secondary. So I'm just going to leave the mask inverted, and what we'll do is this time I'm going to use the inflate, and I have a special inflate brush, so we'll use the inflate UVs, and I've got it on sub. Let's leave it, and I'll bring this up, and you could do it either way. Actually, I think I'd like it the other way actually. So the cool thing about doing it this way is you can control how much texture goes in or out if you want. You can do it as little or as much as you want. I would caution you from like rubbing over the texture more than a couple times. It starts to really do some weird things with your texture. The other thing you can do if you want to make sure you're getting a little bit more even texture is come back. Let's not paint it yet. I'll go back before we paint, and you can do a paint stroke. Oops, too far. So for here we can come down and we can actually do paint, and it will click on stroke painting, and now every time you go in it will give you an indication of where you're at and how much texture you're putting up. So I'll go through here and do this all real quick, and the good thing about this is you can see if you're getting the texture where you want, if you're getting enough texture. You can see it gets a little heavy, so you got to be careful with if you're doing symmetry. If it's coming in next to itself, you'll get a little extra texture more than you want. And with this, I mean, you can add texture on top of texture. I mean, you could have texture in this brush you're using, so you're adding texture as you're using your UV map texture. All right, so we'll call that good for now. And I'm going to, and if you wanted to, you can mask this off on the inside before you start applying all this texture. If you wanted that to be masked and not have texture on both sides, if you like, totally up to you. All right, so we're going to go to mask. We'll clear the mask. Now, here's the thing. It's like, man, it's like I thought I had this right. Everything looks good. This is okay. The last final step of this, just like the last one, is come up to the Materials tab, come down to your opacity again, and just click None. And now you have sculptable texture. If you want to move this around, you want to add clay, whatever you want to do. I would think most people with this option is you probably just want to slightly move things a little bit to fit. So if we turn off solo, now you have a cool textured suit that has a seamless texture all the way around, and it looks amazing. So Let's change his color a little bit so it offsets this a little bit. Give him just some tone. There we go. There. So now you have a nice seamless texture on anything you want to put it on. So you can put this on hands, you can put this on his face, you can put wherever. Makes a great technique, and it's awesome because this is sculptable, it's printable, whatever you want to do with it. All right, I hope this second video of this little series helps you out and you guys create some really cool, interesting things. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Till next time, have fun sculpting.